Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. Skycommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by skycommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's unpack this because the sky's about to get a little different, right? Especially for anyone operating remotely piloted aircraft systems, RPAS, which, let's be honest, most of us just call drones.
That's right. Things are definitely shifting.
Yeah, in our daily lives, we're just swimming in information, aren't we? And trying to cut through all that noise, especially when it's about something as critical as safety knowledge. Well, that can feel like a huge task.
It really can. Information overload is real.
So today we're doing that deep dive for you. We're diving into navigating the skies with drones, and it's way more complex than just, pointing a controller.
Oh, absolutely. It's intricate.
It's this whole, complex dance, isn't it? Seeing and being seen. It's technology meeting good old-fashioned human vigilance. High-stakes stuff.
And what's really interesting here is just how quickly the rules are catching up. They have to, right?
Oh.
With how sophisticated drone ops are getting and how they're fitting into, our shared airspace.
And there's a big one coming up.
There is. A critical new update from Transport Canada. It's SOR 2025-70, and it clicks in July 1st, 2025.
July 1st, 2025, okay.
And it's not just some minor adjustment. This rule explicitly locks down the requirement for both things: advanced tech, like transponders, and actively scanning visually to resolve conflicts.
Both, not one or the other.
Exactly, both.
Yeah.
If you think about the bigger picture, it's moving from something that was maybe implied before, general duty of care, to something very, very explicit in the regulations. It's spelled out now.
Wow, okay. That feels like a fundamental shift. So our mission today, then, is to give you the essentials, the knowledge you need, maybe some surprising facts along the way.
There are definitely some surprising elements.
And those crucial practical insights. So you can navigate this evolving airspace with confidence and, most importantly, safely. We'll break down what this new landscape really means for you, the operator. Mastering being seen, and just as key, mastering seeing what's out there. Right, let's kick things off with, what's become a really essential tool for knowing what's going on up there. Transponders.
Absolutely key.
So, in simple terms, think of it like maybe a smart walkie-talkie for your drone.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually.
When air traffic control radar sends out a ping, your transponder doesn't just sort of wave back. It automatically shoots back your drone's unique ID and its exact altitude.
Instantly.
It's almost like, hitting check-in on a rideshare app.
Yeah.
ATC always knows who you are and precisely where you are in their airspace. No guessing.
That rideshare check-in idea, it's surprisingly spot on and, it connects way back in history. The whole idea of a transponder, it came out of Military Identify Friend or Foe Systems, IFF, during World War II.
Wow, World War II, seriously?
Seriously. These early gadgets were literally designed to stop friendly fire incidents in the middle of, chaotic dogfights, telling allies from enemies.
That's incredible.
So in a way, every single time you squawk a code today.
Right, squawk. We hear that term.
You're actually using tech that was born in those incredibly high-stakes aerial battles. It's a direct line from wartime necessity to modern air safety.
That's fascinating. So speaking of squawk, are these codes just random numbers ATC gives out, or do they mean something specific?
Oh, they definitely mean specific things, universal meanings, actually. Now, RPAS operators probably won't be using the emergency ones routinely, hopefully never, but every aviator needs to know them. The big one is Squawk 7700.
7700, okay.
That's the universal signal for a general emergency. Think of it like shouting Mayday, but electronically. 777, all stations, emergency. It instantly tells ATC something is seriously wrong.
Like a nonverbal SOS.
Exactly. And there are others like 7500 for hijacking, got a 5.0 problem, and 7600 for lost communications. Radio 6 is silent. Even if you, as a drone pilot, aren't likely to use these specific emergency codes, knowing them means you understand the language of the sky. It shows you're part of the system.
Right, part of the whole aviation community. So what about when ATC asks you to squawk ident What's happening then?
Squawk ident. Good question. When ATC asks for that, you're basically hitting a button on your transponder. What it does is it makes your specific little blip on their radar screen flash really brightly for a few seconds.
So it stands out.
Exactly. It's like you're waving at them from way up there. Hey, this one's me. It makes your target instantly stand out from all the other traffic they might be tracking.
Useful in busy skies, I bet.
Incredibly useful. Sometimes controllers even call it painting your target. That phrase comes right from the old days of radar where the signal return would literally paint onto the screen. It's all about clear, unambiguous identification, making sure ATC knows exactly which blip corresponds to your aircraft. It's a direct safety thing.
Makes total sense. So, okay, we've got this powerful tech. When are transponders actually legally required for us drone operators?
Okay, the requirement generally kicks in for most controlled airspace. We're talking Class A, B, and C primarily.
A, B, and C. Got it.
They can also be required in certain parts of Class D and E airspace. Or, critically, anytime air traffic control specifically tells you to turn yours on and gives you a code.
So, follow ATC instructions, always.
Always. And here's the crucial part. You should never enter controlled airspace where a transponder is required without having been assigned a code and having it active. If you get a code, it means ATC sees you, they know you're there, and they can actually integrate you safely with all the manned aircraft traffic.
And if you don't?
If you don't get or use a required code, you're essentially invisible to the system designed to keep everyone separated. That's a major safety violation. You're flying blind in their world.
Okay, so the tech is vital in those areas, but... And this is where it gets really interesting for me and maybe a bit surprising. Why isn't just relying on that technology enough? If ATC can paint you and give you a code, why do we still need our own eyes?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It seems counterintuitive. The human eye, kind of surprisingly, is actually better at spotting movement across your field of vision, like side to side, than it is at seeing something coming straight at you.
That's a known physiological limitation.
Yeah. It's not just some quirk. It's like a built-in biological blind spot that pilots, and now us, have to constantly fight against. It's the reason why collision hazards can sometimes feel like they just appear out of nowhere. They were coming straight on, and our brains just didn't register that expanding shape as quickly as they would something moving left or right.
That's a fundamental piece of human physiology with direct, serious impacts on aviation safety. Our peripheral vision, excellent for detecting motion. But our central vision, the bit we use to focus, that's much better for seeing detail, for identifying what something is.
So how do we use that?
Well, there's a practical tip pilots use all the time, and you can apply it immediately as an RPAS operator. If you think you see something, try glancing slightly off target. Use your peripheral vision to confirm the motion first, then shift your main focus, your central vision, onto it to get the details.
Look away to see better.
It sounds weird, I know, but it works. It leverages how our eyes are actually built.
Yeah.
Highly effective.
And pilots have a system for this, right? This sort of scanning.
They do. It's a tried and tested method called the 10-degree sweep.
Okay, how does that work?
Think of it like your eyes are windshield wipers, but for the sky. You visually scan a small slice of the sky, maybe about 10 degrees wide, and you pause, just for a second or so. Let your eyes actually absorb what's there. Don't just sweep continuously.
Pause is key.
Critical. Then you shift your gaze over another 10 degrees, scan, pause, shift, scan, pause. You repeat this systematically across your entire field of vision, usually from right to left, then back again left to right.
Like mowing a lawn with your eyes?
That's a good way to think about it. It's methodical. It ensures you actually cover all the areas properly. You can even make a game of it when you're practicing the sky sector game. Break the sky into chunks and scan them rhythmically.
Needs to be disciplined, though.
Very disciplined. And, crucially, this visual scan has to cover everything, full 360 degrees. That means looking above you, below you, left, right, and dead ahead. Not just where the drone seems to be going.
Threats can come from anywhere.
Absolutely. Especially fafter planes or aircraft operating at different altitudes that might pop up unexpectedly. You need to be physically turning your head, sweeping your eyes systematically, not just staring blankly forward.
Right. So we've got the tech, the transponder, we've got the human element, our eyes, and how to use them effectively. Now, let's connect those two dots to the big change coming July 1st, that new regulatory mandate, SOR 2025-70.
This is the real game changer. This amendment, effective July 1st, 2025, it makes it crystal clear. It solidifies a requirement for both things together. awareness via your transponder, and active visual conflict resolution using your eyes.
Not one or the other. Both are mandatory.
Both are mandatory, especially they emphasize in controlled airspace and during beyond visual line of sight BVLOS operations. If you zoom out, what Transport Canada is saying unequivocally is that human visual monitoring is still absolutely critical. It's not being replaced by tech.
So the shift is from maybe it's a good idea to look to you must look.
Exactly. It was always part of safe operations, that implied duty. But now, it's an explicit regulatory expectation. It's written down right alongside transponder use. They're a required combo, dual, non-negotiable requirements.
So the takeaway is, as of July 1st, 2025, the sky's definitely different. Tech helps, no doubt, but your eyes hold the final word on safety.
Precisely. This rule really hammers home that you're not just a system operator pushing buttons. You're a safety pilot. You are the ultimate safety net. Your attention, your vigilance, that's what prevents accidents.
Okay, let's dig into some real-world stuff now. Those scenarios where even the best tech needs that human backup. You used the analogy earlier. Imagine your transponder is like a dating profile for ATC.
Yeah, something like that.
It shows where you are, your stats, altitude, ID, all that, but it won't tell ATC if someone or something is about to, walk right into you. That part's still totally on you, the operator.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Because transponders, as amazing as they are, they have blind spots, significant ones.
Blind spots? What kind of blind spots?
We call them non-cooperative targets. Basically anything flying around that doesn't have a working transponder switched on.
And they won't show up on my screen?
Never. Not on a standard transponder display. Not even on many ADS-B receivers. Think about it. Birds, huge flocks sometimes. Gliders enjoying the thermals. Some smaller drones might not have them. Ultralights buzzing around. Hot air balloons drifting silently. Hang gliders.
Wow, that's a lot of potential traffic.
It is. And sometimes even military aircraft or police helicopters might turn their transponders off for tactical reasons. Or maybe they're just flying too low for radar coverage. All of these are potential conflicts that your electronics simply will not see.
Which means
your visual scan is your only defense against them. It's the only way you'll know they're there. This is why just trusting the screen is so dangerous.
Let's make this concrete. Walk us through one of those blind spot scenarios. Really paint the picture.
Okay, picture this. You're out in rural Alberta, flying low, maybe 150 feet above the ground, inspecting a power line with your drone. The airspace is Class G, generally uncontrolled. But there's an instrument flight rules, an IFR corridor overhead, so there could be faster traffic up high. You're being diligent, so your RPAS has its transponder on.
Good practice.
Definitely. Suddenly, out of the corner of your eye, you see this fast-moving yellow blur, low to the ground, coming towards your area.
Yellow blur. Crop duster.
Exactly, a crop duster. And crucially, it does not have a transponder broadcasting. So you glance at your drone's display, your control screen.
And it shows.
Absolutely nothing. Empty sky, electronically speaking.
Yikes. Okay, what's the immediate action?
Immediate and decisive. You need to descend sharply, or maybe sidestep laterally, maybe both. Whatever. Create separation now. Get out of its potential path.
And anything else?
Yes. If there's a local advisory frequency, a CTAF, being used in the area, get on the radio and announce your position and what you saw. Drone operator near the power lines just had a yellow crop duster pass low eastbound. Warn other potential traffic.
And then log it, right?
Always. Every single time. Record in your post-flight log as a near miss. Document what happened, where, when, what you did. The big lesson here, transponder awareness includes knowing what it can't see. That visual scan, it wasn't just good practice. It was your only line of defense in that moment. And these situations, surprisingly common, especially out in agricultural or remote areas.
Okay, so that covers the invisible stuff. What about when you were talking to ATC, that ATC dance you mentioned? Even with rules and tech, that communication has to be spot on, doesn't it?
Absolutely critical. It's a constant back and forth, and you need to be ready. Let's take another scenario. You're operating legally within controlled airspace, maybe near a Class D airport tower. You're filming, say, a construction site. You've got your clearance, your transponder is dutifully squawking the code they gave you.
You're everything right.
Yep. Then your radio crackles.
Yep.
RPAS November XXXX, squawk 4251 for identification.
Okay, new code. What do I do?
Your immediate response should be two things. First, acknowledge clearly. Squawking 4251 November XXX, let them know you heard and understood. Second, immediately enter that new code, 4251, into your transponder control. Don't delay.
And keep looking outside.
Critically important. Don't get tunnel vision on the controller. Continue your visual scan pattern. Why? Because ATC might be giving you that specific code to identify you because they're vectoring manned traffic near your location. They need to confirm which blip is you before they proceed. The lesson: ATC can assign or change your squawk code at any time during your flight. Being ready to respond instantly shows you're professional and helps keep you safely integrated.
Okay, another ATC interaction. Let's say you're near that same Class D airport. You have clearance, you're filming something, your transponder's on, and it's in ALT mode, meaning it's reporting your altitude.
Standard procedure.
The tower controller calls you. RPAS, November XXX, traffic in your vicinity, say, altitude. So you look at your drone's telemetry on your screen, and it reads, say, 750 feet AGL, above ground level. But you also know your transponder is sending out pressure altitude, which ATC sees, and that might be reading something different, right? Maybe 1,520 feet based on the current altimeter setting.
Right. And this brings up a really important point. Why the difference? And why does it matter so much for separation?
Explain that. Pressure versus true altitude.
Okay. Pressure altitude is like a standardized altitude. It's calculated based on a universal atmospheric pressure setting, 29.92 inches of mercury. All aircraft flying above a certain altitude, called the transition altitude, use this standard setting so they're all on the same page, vertically speaking. Think of it as a universal air pressure address.
Like everyone using the same Zipkin for altitude?
Kinda, yeah. Whereas your AGL, above ground level, is your actual height, right above the terrain directly beneath you, your street level address. It changes constantly if the ground elevation changes.
So ATC sees one number, my screen shows another. What do I tell them?
For clear communication and maximum safety, the correct action is to report both. Tell them what your drone's telemetry is showing AGL, and acknowledge the pressure altitude if you know it or can see it. So a good response would be something like, Tower, November XXX is at 750 feet AGL, pressure altitude indicates 1,520 feet.
Give them all the info.
Give all the relevant info. It prevents confusion. Clear, precise communication keeps everyone aligned and avoids misunderstandings that could potentially lead to dangerous situations. Knowing both altitudes matters.
So all these scenarios, what's the big takeaway when you're actually flying? It seems so easy to just get sucked into the screen, right? Watching the battery level, the camera feed, the traffic alerts.
It's incredibly easy. And it's a huge trap.
A trap.
Absolutely. There's even a common question type you see on exam, the sort of gotcha question. If your transponder is active in controlled airspace, do you still need to maintain a visual lookout?
And the answer is?
The answer is absolutely unequivocally yes. But it's phrased to trick you into thinking the tech is enough. It is categorically wrong to assume the transponder replaces your eyes. You always, always, always must visually scan.
Why? If the tech is so good.
Because, as we discussed, reality check. Tons of aircraft simply don't carry transponders.
Yeah.
Or they might be off. Or you might be in an area with poor radar coverage. Let me give you another scenario. ADS-B overload.
Okay.
Imagine you're doing a survey along the coast near a really busy Class C airport airspace. You've got ADS-B in and out, top-of-the-line tech. So your display screen is just lit up like a Christmas tree with ADS-B targets. Planes coming, planes going.
Sounds like good situational awareness.
It sounds like it. But
Right.
here's the trap. Your screen is so cluttered, so full of digital dots representing known traffic, that you become completely absorbed by it. You're busy virtually chasing dots. And because you're so focused on the screen, you completely miss a critical visual cue.
Oh no. What is it?
Maybe it's a helicopter flying low and close, maybe doing some shoreline work or noise abatement procedures, and it's not transmitting ADS-B, or maybe its transponder's off. It's physically right there, but invisible on your screen. And you nearly flew right into it because you were mesmerized by the display.
That's sobering.
It really is. Yeah. The correct action, the safe action, is always to prioritize looking outside over chasing dots on the screen. Use the tech as a tool, a supplement to your awareness, but never let it become your primary lookout. If you see something visually that conflicts, like that helicopter, you maneuver immediately to ensure separation, you report it to ATC if the safety margin was tight, and you keep scanning that high-tech display. It can actually increase risk if it distracts you from the real world right outside.
Wow. And there's a term for how our eyes can trick us too, right? Something about empty fields.
Yes. It's called empty field myopia. It's a fascinating phenomenon. When you're staring out into a vast, featureless sky, especially a hazy or empty blue one, your eyes naturally tend to relax their focus. Instead of focusing way out at infinity where potential traffic might be, they drift and end up focusing only a few meters ahead.
Like looking at a blank wall.
Exactly like that. Your eyes just don't have anything distant to lock onto. So to combat this, you have to consciously force your eyes to focus far away. Pick a distant cloud, a landmark on the horizon if you can see one, or even just an imaginary point way out there. And constantly shift your focus. Use that 10-degree scan technique we talked about. It keeps your eyes actively working at the right distance.
So vigilance isn't just about looking, it's about how you look.
Precisely. And you need to be aware of other visual limitations too. Atmospheric haze can obscure aircraft. Sun glare is a huge problem at certain times of day. Aircraft can disappear against certain cloud backgrounds or terrain. You need to constantly adjust your scanning technique based on the conditions.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Airspace itself. It's not just a static map, is it? It can change, sometimes quickly.
That's a critical point. Airspace is dynamic. What's Class G today might have restrictions tomorrow. You can't just rely on memory or an old chart. There are even some quirks in Canadian airspace, like Class E controlled airspace, sometimes starting at just 700 feet above ground level in certain rural areas.
700 feet? That's quite low for controlled airspace.
It is. It means you could be perfectly legal flying your drone at 650 feet AGL with no transponder needed, but climb just 100 feet higher to 750 feet without moving sideways at all, and suddenly you're in controlled airspace, potentially needing a transponder and clearance without realizing it if you weren't watching your altitude and location carefully relative to that Class E floor.
Tricky stuff.
Very tricky. And then you have Class F restricted areas. Think about zones activated for forest fires, or maybe military exercises or VIP movements. These can top up with absolutely zero warning on your permanent navigation charts.
So how do you know they're there?
Only one way. NOTAMs. Notices to airmen. These are temporary bulletins alerting pilots to hazards or changes. Checking NOTAMs as part of your pre-flight planning on the day of the flight is absolutely non-negotiable. It's your only warning for these temporary but potentially critical airspace changes.
Let's do a scenario for that, a temporary airspace trap.
Okay, you're flying a routine survey, maybe near a forested valley you fly often. Normally, it's just good old Class G airspace, uncontrolled. But overnight, a wildfire flared up nearby, and Transport Canada has issued a NOTAM activating a temporary Class F restricted zone over that valley to protect firefighting aircraft.
But you didn't check NOTAMs this morning.
Exactly. You weren't expecting any controlled aircraft, so maybe you didn't even bother turning your drone's transponder on, thinking it wasn't needed. You launch, start your survey, and suddenly a massive water bomber aircraft roars into view, descending right towards the valley lake.
Heart-stopping. Again, what's the immediate action?
Get down and get out. Immediately descend and exit the boundaries of that restricted area as fast as safely possible. Land your drone. Then you need to pull up the latest NOTAMs and realize your pre-flight planning missed a critical step.
And the lesson?
The lesson is stark. Temporary restrictions can instantly turn a no transponder needed zone into a transponder required and keep out unless authorized zone, with absolutely zero change to your permanent maps. Pre-flight checks, including NOTAMs, are not optional. They are essential every single time you fly. It's the only way to stay ahead of these dynamic airspace changes.
What about flying beyond visual line of sight? BVLOS. That seems like the ultimate reliance on tech. Surely the human eye takes a back seat then.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But it's actually a dangerous assumption to make. Even for approved BVLOS operations, even if you have a transponder equipped on your drone, you are still generally required by regulation to have either a trained visual observer watching the airspace around the drone or a fully certified, approved detect and avoid system on board. That system has to meet rigorous performance standards.
So ATC radar isn't enough?
No. ATC surveillance alone is not considered a substitute for meeting that fundamental see and avoid, or, as the regulations often phrase it, visual conflict resolution requirement. The responsibility still ultimately rests with the operator.
Okay, BVLOS scenario time.
All right. Imagine a BVLOS pipeline inspection. You're approved to fly in Class E airspace, maybe at 1,000 feet AGL, well beyond your direct sight. Suddenly, you get an unexpected technical alert from the drone. Maybe a battery issue forcing you to trigger the automatic return to home sequence.
Okay, drone's coming back.
It's heading back along its pre-programmed route. But then, your designated ground-based visual observer, who is positioned strategically along the route, radios you urgently. Control, be advised, small twin-engine aircraft on your right, looks like same altitude, converging.
And it's not on your screen.
Not on your display at all. Maybe its transponder is off, or it's below reliable radar coverage in that area. Your immediate action, You override the automated return path, maneuver the drone, maybe climb, descend, or turn to ensure separation based on the VO's report. You inform ATC of the visual traffic in your maneuver. You rely entirely on that visual observer's report until the hazard passes. Then you can resume the return to home.
So even miles away, the human eye is still critical.
Absolutely. The lesson is crystal clear. Even with sophisticated technology and automation, approved BVLOS operations still fundamentally rely on human visual oversight or on highly reliable certified automated systems to meet that core safety requirement of avoiding collisions. Tech helps, but it often needs that human backup.
Right, so we've hit the tech, the airspace dynamics, the blind spots. Now let's really focus on the human element, not just the pilot, but the team. Which brings us straight to the crucial role of visual observers, VOs.
VOs are absolutely essential in many types of operations. They're a designated crew member.
And the official definition, what does Transport Canada say a VO is?
According to the Canadian aviation regulations, the CARS, a visual observer is a trained crew member who assists the pilot in ensuring the safe conduct of a flight under visual line of sight. Their job is specifically to help the pilot watch the drone and the airspace around it.
Assist the pilot. So they're an extra set of eyes.
Yep.
But when are they actually legally required? It's not for every single flight, is it?
No, not always. A visual observer is generally mandatory whenever the pilot who is actually manipulating the controls cannot personally maintain continuous visual line of sight with the drone itself or with the immediate surrounding airspace the drone is flying in.
Okay, so when might that happen? Give us some common examples.
Sure. Aerial filming is a classic one. If you, as the pilot, are intensely focused on getting that perfect shot, maybe you're doing a smooth 45-second orbit around a subject, and your eyes are absolutely glued to the camera feed on your screen to frame it just right.
Then you're not looking at the drone itself.
Exactly. By definition, that drone is now beyond your direct visual line of sight. You need a VO whose sole job is to watch the drone and the sky around it.
Sense. What else?
First-person view flying. FPV. When you put on those FPV goggles,
Yeah.
the regulations are very clear. The drone is not considered within the line of sight of the person at the controls. You are legally required to have a visual observer when flying FPV. No exceptions.
Okay, FPV always needs a VO. Got it. Any other common ones?
Operations over a large area. Imagine inspecting a 5-kilometer pipeline. You're just not going to be able to keep your eyes directly on that drone for the entire length of the flight path from one spot.
Right, it'll be too far away.
So you might need to set up what's sometimes called a string of visual observers, people positioned at intervals along the route, handing off responsibility for watching the drone as it progresses.
Okay, so having a VO is important in those cases. But it's not just about having any person standing there, is it? They need to be fit to fly, properly briefed.
Absolutely critical. Just like the pilot, the VO is the crew member, and they must be fit for duty. The standard checklist we use in aviation applies here too. The I'm Safe E checklist.
Remind us what that stands for.
Sure. I, illness. Are you sick? M, medication. Are you taking anything, prescription or over-the-counter, that could impair judgment or performance?
S, stress.
Are you under excessive psychological stress from life or work? Alcohol. Have you consumed any alcohol within the last 12 hours? That's the standard bottle-to-throttle rule. F, fatigue. Are you adequately rested? Did you get enough sleep? Eating, drinking? Are you properly nourished and hydrated? Dehydration can severely impact performance.
And this applies to the VO, too, not just the pilot.
It applies to anyone involved in the RPAS operation who is designated as a crew member. Pilot, VO, ground support if they have safety-critical roles. Everyone must self-assess using I'm Safe before starting duty. And we should mention the specific rule for cannabis, too. It's 28 days between consumption and performing crew duties.
12 hours for alcohol, 28 days for cannabis. Clear lines. Okay, so they're fit. What about the briefing? What absolutely has to be covered before you take off?
The crew briefing is non-negotiable and needs to be thorough. You need to cover several key areas. First, roles and responsibilities. Who is doing what? Who is the pilot in command, PIC? What are the VO's specific duties?
Clarity on roles.
Essential. Second, the flight plan and the anticipated procedures. Everyone needs to know the mission, the route, the altitudes, and where to find this information if needed during the flight. Third, emergency and contingency plans. What do we do if? What's the plan for a lost link, a flyaway? What if the VO needs to take over reading the emergency checklist while the pilot flies? These must be discussed before an emergency happens.
Routine can add.
Always. Fourth, location and use of safety equipment. Where's the fire extinguisher? How do you use it? First aid kit, emergency contact numbers. And fifth, the public management plan. What do we do if curious bystanders approach? How do we keep them safe and out of the operating area? What do we tell them? It's all part of a professional operation.
And during the flight itself, how does that communication work between pilot and VO? What should the VO actually be telling the pilot?
Communication needs to be, and the regs use this phrase, reliable and timely.
Reliable and timely, meaning?
It doesn't necessarily mean they have to be close enough to shout. It means you need effective tools. Push-to-talk radios, walkie-talkies, even dedicated systems like Discord on phones can work as long as the communication is clear, immediate, and dependable.
Okay, and what information is the VO relaying?
Their primary job is spotting hazards. So, number one, conflicting aircraft, manned or unmanned, anything that could pose a collision risk. Cooperative targets with transponders, and those non-cooperative ones we talked about, the birds, the gliders.
The invisible stuff.
Exactly. Number two, hazards to aviation in the immediate flight area. Think power lines the pilot might not see from their angle, tall trees, antennas, construction cranes. And number three, bystanders or ground obstacles. Remember, people on the ground can be considered obstacles, and you generally can't fly directly over them without specific permissions or safety mitigations. Part of the VO's job is to help keep the ground area clear and alert the pilot if someone wanders into the flight path or buffer zone.
So a really active role. Now, a question that often comes up, does that visual observer actually need to have a drone pilot certificate?
That's a common point of confusion. The regulations state the VO must be trained, but they do not explicitly require the VO to hold a pilot certificate themselves.
So trained doesn't mean certified pilot.
Correct. The general understanding in industry practice is that the training for a VO primarily consists of that thorough pre-flight crew briefing. Understanding the specific mission, knowing the procedures inside out, knowing what hazards to look for, and how to communicate effectively. It's about being competent for that specific operation, not necessarily holding a general pilot license.
Okay, that clarifies things. What about handing over the controls? Can the pilot in command, the PIC, let someone else fly for a bit? Maybe someone who doesn't have a certificate.
Yes, that is permissible, but with important conditions. It needs to be planned, and the procedures for the handoff and who is responsible need to be clearly discussed in the pre-flight briefing.
But the PIC can't just walk away.
Absolutely not. The designated pilot in command must remain in a position where they can immediately take control back if necessary. This usually means either having a dual control setup, a buddy box system, or being physically close enough to literally grab the controls from the other person in an instant if an emergency arises. Ultimate responsibility always stays with the PIC.
Got it. Now, what about the little guys? Microdrones, those under 250 grams. Do these strict rules about always keeping it in visual line of sight, maybe needing a VO, apply to them in the same way?
Microdrones. They operate under a simpler set of rules. For basic operations with microdrones, maintaining continuous visual line of sight, VLOS, is not actually a strict regulatory requirement baked into their specific operating rules.
Really? So you can fly them BVLOS without special permission?
Technically, the regulations don't forbid it in the same way they do for larger drones. However, and this is a big however, Transport Canada strongly recommends keeping microdrones within VLOS as a best practice for safety.
So it's recommended, not required?
For basic ops, yes. But here's the crucial part. If you do choose to fly a microdrone beyond your visual line of sight and you cause an accident, say you hit a small aircraft or injure someone on the ground, the general principle of negligence still absolutely applies. Just because the VLOS rule isn't explicitly written for microdrones doesn't mean you have a free pass to operate recklessly. The responsibility to fly safely and not endanger anyone or anything remains squarely on your shoulders. You could still face serious consequences if something goes wrong due to flying beyond your sight.
So fly smart, even with the little ones.
Always fly smart. Always prioritize safety.
This actually brings us to a really significant and frankly sobering incident in Canadian drone history, the Buttonville Airport incident. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it's a stark case study. A police drone was being used to track a suspect on the ground. It took off very close to the Buttonville Airport, which at the time was a very busy flight training airport near Toronto. Critically, it launched within the extended runway centerline area.
Prime airspace for landing aircraft.
Exactly. And the unthinkable happened. The police drone actually collided with a manned aircraft, a Cessna that was likely on approach or departure.
A collision. Was anyone hurt?
Fortunately, in this case, the drone struck the lower part of the Cessna's engine cowling. The aircraft was able to land safely, and no one was injured. But if that impact point had been just a meter or so higher, hitting the windshield or flight controls, It could easily have been catastrophic.
Wow. And there were issues with how the drone was operated.
There were multiple regulatory violations cited in the investigation report, but one point that's particularly relevant to our discussion today was the use, or alleged use, of a visual observer. The police crew stated they had a VO. However, the investigation found that the training records for the crew, including the VO, were lacking or incomplete. And crucially, it couldn't be determined if the person designated as the VO was actually looking at the drone in the surrounding airspace, or if they were perhaps looking at the drone's video feed on a screen instead.
Ah, the screen versus the sky issue again.
Precisely. This incident provides a critical, hard-learned lesson. The potential lack of proper crew training and clearly defined VO duties was identified as a significant contributing factor. It tragically highlights the danger of relying on screens for your primary visual observation, especially near airports. It underscores exactly why the principle of see and avoid using properly trained human eyes focused outside is absolutely paramount. That VO might have genuinely believed looking at the screen was their job, which is a fundamental and potentially fatal misunderstanding. The new regulations making active visual scanning explicit are partly a response to prevent ambiguities like this.
It really drives home the point. It's not just having a person there, it's having a trained, attentive person doing the right job looking at the sky.
Exactly. An active participant in safety, not just a passive bystander.
Okay, one last practical question on VOs, especially for the FPV flyers out there. Here's the conundrum. Can the person you're filming, say, your friend on a skateboard that you're following with the drone, can they legally act as your visual observer?
Okay, this is a fun one. Legally speaking, yes, they probably can.
Really?
Yes, provided that person, the subject being filmed, meets all the other requirements.
Yeah.
They have to be properly briefed on their responsibilities as a VO. They have to meet the I'm safe criteria. They need reliable communication with the pilot wearing the goggles. And crucially, they must actually be capable of and actively be watching the drone itself and the surrounding airspace for conflicts, and then relaying that information effectively back to the pilot.
So legally possible.
Legally possible. But practically, think about it. Your super cool dynamic FPV shot following the skateboarder down the path. It's probably going to be somewhat ruined if the person on the skateboard is constantly having to look up at the drone, scan the sky around them, and hold a walkie-talkie up to their mouth to talk to you, instead of, skateboarding and looking cool for the camera.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like great footage.
Probably not. So, while it might be technically permissible under the rules if all conditions are met, it's likely not the most practical or effective way to ensure safety or get a good shot in most FPV scenarios. Better to have a dedicated VO.
Okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground about where we are right now with drone operations, safety, and the new rules. But let's spend a few minutes looking ahead. What does the future hold? The skies are only going to get busier, right?
They certainly are. The evolution isn't stopping. We're definitely seeing strong trends towards much deeper integration of RPAS into the existing airspace system. A big part of that is likely going to be increased use of ADS-B technology for drones.
ADS-B, like the system manned aircraft use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Automatic dependent surveillance broadcast. It's possible, even likely, that we'll see requirements for ADS-B out capabilities on more types of drones, especially those operating in remote areas, high-traffic corridors, or complex airspace. This allows everyone, ATC and other aircraft equipped with ADS-B, to see the drone electronically. It's key for seamless integration.
So, more electronic visibility.
Yes. And supporting that, NAV Canada, the company that manages Canada's civil air navigation system, is actively doing conceptual work on something called RPAS traffic management, or RTM.
RTM, what's that?
Think of it like air traffic control specifically tailored for drones, especially for operations below where traditional ATC usually operates, or for managing large numbers of drones in a specific area. It signals a future where drones aren't just tolerated in the airspace, but are actively managed in integrated parts of a larger system. This implies more structure, probably more rules, but also more capability, relying heavily on both electronic data like transponders and ADS-B, and robust methods for detect and avoid.
Interesting. And you mentioned earlier some regulatory simplification is coming too.
That's right. It's a positive sign that the regulations are maturing. After November 2025, The plan is that many lower risk beyond visual line of sight operations and flights with medium-sized drones that currently require a complex Special Flight Operations Certificate, or SFOC,
Yeah.
many of those will no longer need that specific SFOC application process. It should streamline things for more routine, lower risk advanced operations.
That sounds like good news for operators.
It should be. However, don't expect it to be a free-for-all. More complex operations, higher risk flights, they'll almost certainly still face rigorous requirements, likely tiered based on risk, demanding more advanced technology, more robust procedures, and definitely enhanced situational awareness protocols. And speaking of tech, we're seeing exciting developments in onboard detect and avoid systems.
Like radar or cameras on the drone itself?
Exactly. Miniature radar systems, LiDAR, which uses lasers, sophisticated optical camera systems with AI processing, these are all being developed and refined. They hold huge promise for augmenting the pilot's awareness.
Could they eventually replace the need for human visual scanning or VOs?
That's the billion-dollar question. The current thinking and likely regulatory approach for the foreseeable future is that these systems might augment human vision, or in very specific, highly controlled and rigorously certified cases, they might partially offset the need for continuous human visual scanning. But, and this is crucial, this will only happen under extremely strict certification frameworks that guarantee their performance and reliability. They need to be proven to be as safe or safer than human eyes in specific environments.
So, not a replacement for human judgment anytime soon.
Unlikely to be a complete replacement across the board. They're tools to enhance safety and capability, but they don't fundamentally replace the need for sound judgment, risk assessment, and ultimate pilot responsibility.
Okay, so despite all this amazing future tech, despite the evolving rules, the integration, the simplification, what is the one bedrock principle, the unshakable constant that every single drone operator today and tomorrow absolutely must carry with them every time they fly?
It boils down to this, and it cannot be stressed enough. Collision avoidance responsibility is always yours, period.
Always yours, even if ATC is helping.
Even in controlled airspace. Even if air traffic control gives you traffic advisories about nearby aircraft, if you still have a near miss or, heaven forbid, a collision because you weren't vigilant enough, you can still be held responsible. This is a classic exam trap scenario they use. Does ATC support remove your C and avoid responsibility?
And the answer is?
No, absolutely not. ATC provides support, advisories, separation services within the limits of their system, but they do not and cannot absolve the pilot, manned or unmanned, of the fundamental responsibility to see and avoid other traffic. The ultimate onus remains on the pilot in command. You are the final authority for the safety of your flight.
That really brings it all together. You, the operator, you are the final safety net. Your attention, your vigilance, your judgment, that's what ultimately saves the day.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, to help everyone lock these vital concepts in place, let's quickly revisit some of those memory hooks or mnemonics we touched on.
Good idea. We had PLA, remember? Ping, look, avoid.
Ping your transponder. Look with your eyes. Avoid by maneuvering.
Exactly. And VCR. Visual conflict resolution. You could think of that as vision clears risk.
I liked the visual metaphor too. The seesaw.
Ah, yes, the seesaw.
One side is the tech ping your transponder, ADS-B, all the electronic data. The other side is the eyeball scan, your active human visual lookout. For true safety, that seesaw needs to be balanced. You need both sides working together. Relying too heavily on one side or the other is asking for trouble.
Perfectly put. Balance is key. So let's just quickly summarize those absolute non-negotiables, the key takeaways from our deep dive today.
Lay them on us.
1. Always use your transponder with the correct assigned code when operating in controlled airspace where it's required. It's your electronic introduction to ATC.
Got it.
2. Visual conflict resolution active scanning is mandatory. Always. Even if your screens look clear, your eyes are your ultimate backup system.
Scan, scan, scan.
3. Remember, transponders and ADS-B do not detect everything. Non-cooperative targets, birds, gliders, some drones, stealthy helicopters. They're invisible electronically. Only your eyes will see them.
Know the limits of your tech.
4. That new rule, effective July 1st, 2025, makes it explicit. Tech plus eyes. Required combo. It's not optional, it's the law.
Tech plus eyes. Mandatory.
And finally, number 5. You, the operator, the pilot in command, you are the final safety net. Your vigilance, your decisions, your responsibility. It all comes down to you.
Wow. We have definitely covered a lot. We've journeyed through the tech of transponders, the critical art and science of visual scanning, the essential role of human observers and crew readiness, and looked at that ever-evolving regulatory landscape, including the big changes coming. It's complex, no doubt, but absolutely vital knowledge for everyone involved with drones.
Absolutely. And our goal here, as always in these deep dives, isn't just to throw information at you. It's to provide knowledge that you can actually understand, internalize, and most importantly, apply in your real-world operations. In this age of information overload, critical thinking and practical application are what truly matter for flying safely, professionally, and compliantly.
So what does all this mean for you listening right now, whether you're flying drones every day or just interested in the technology? We really hope this deep dive has given you that shortcut, that curated understanding, equipped you with some maybe surprising facts and definitely some practical insights that will serve you well, whether you're planning your next flight or just thinking about how drones fit into our world.
Knowledge put into practice, that's the key.
And maybe one final thought to leave you with, something to mull over beyond just drones. As you go about your day, maybe think about how our growing reliance on technology in all parts of our lives kind of mirrors what's happening in the skies. Where else in your life do you find yourself instinctively looking up or doing that quick double check, even when a screen or a system tells you everything is clear? It's an interesting question about vigilance and judgment in our tech-heavy world. Think about that until next time. That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.